The felon doing work for a federal judge. The News 2 investigation.
Opponents organized to stop a new city in southern East Baton Rouge Parish. Plus,
everybody who watches this, try it.
The Daredevil Challenge from that 90-year-old. I'm Michael Marsh.
And I'm Sylvia Weatherspoon. News 2 at 10 is next.
Tonight, this video is raising serious questions.
An additional investigation needs to be conducted.
The News 2 investigative unit, undercover, finds a convicted felon hanging around a federal judge's house in Baton Rouge. Our crew spotted him going in and out. Now, News 2 investigates what's going on. Live from the capital city in high definition, this is WBRZ News 2 Louisiana.
Good evening. The man freely walked in and out of federal judge Shelley Dick's house. I'm Michael Marsh.
And I'm Sylvia Weatherspoon. The felon took a plea deal and has agreed to testify in a corruption case involving former New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin's office. We found him some 80 miles away from the Crescent City, where Judge Dick is new to the bench. She was appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate in May, and formally sworn in to preside in the Baton Rouge area last month. The News 2 investigative unit uncovered this controversy. Now, News 2's chief investigator Chris Nakamoto investigates the felon and the federal judge.
Dwayne Hodges is a federal felon and will be sentenced next week. While Judge Dick is not the presiding judge over Hodges' case, since his charges are out of New Orleans, the connection is raising questions about whether the judge should have used better discretion, knowing Hodges is awaiting federal sentencing. Wearing a collared shirt and shorts, convicted felon Dwayne Hodges appeared to have easy access as he entered and exited Judge Shelley Dick's home in Baton Rouge during the month of September. The News 2 investigative unit captured him on camera on 4 different occasions, coming and going. On one of those days, a high-end security company was installing security equipment inside the judge's home, as the convicted felon worked right in front of them. Rafael Goyeneche is a state corruption watchdog.
If you send it to me, I would refer it.
Believes this situation raises ethical questions.
Common sense would say that if a judge knows that someone has an open case, and this is still an open case because he has not been sentenced, if you're going to employ them, you need to be very, very careful.
Dwayne Hodges pled guilty 2 years ago for his role in a bribery scheme in the city of New Orleans, which resulted in numerous convictions and culminated with the indictment of former Mayor Ray Nagin. Hodges acted as the middleman to distribute bribe money from a City Hall tech vendor to another city employee. The bribe money ultimately landed some companies millions of dollars of work. Hodges faces up to 5 years in prison for his role in the bribery scheme that originated here in New Orleans out of City Hall. It's likely he'll receive a reduced sentence. Text messages obtained offer an insight to Hodges' thoughts about his case. The investigative unit verified the messages were sent from Dwayne Hodges' cell phone to another person. This was sent from Hodges' phone. At this time, to be working for a federal judge. Response: I think it will work in your favor. Hodges' phone: I hope so. I think it has had an effect on my legal counsel. Response: well, let's hope there's an effect on legal decision makers. Hodges' phone: I agree. Federal judges are powerful people. So after seeing Hodges come and go from Judge Dick's home, we caught up with him to ask a series of questions. We wanted to know if the judge was playing a role in his case. His reply:
no comment.
Hodges' attorney told News 2 Judge Shelley Dick never gave him legal advice, but did say Dick's husband wrote a recommendation letter to the sentencing court.
It is hard to see exactly how this doesn't risk the appearance of maybe an impropriety or maybe even perhaps jeopardize a case. So, yeah.
Robert Scott is the director of the Public Affairs Research Council in Baton Rouge,
on this issue,
an organization that speaks out about public issues.
I think it's hard to see an explanation of this in which she's not taking some risk with the public trust. And so it is hard to see a good rationale for it.
We're bringing the formal letter to Judge Dick. News 2 requested an on-camera interview with Judge Dick, hand-delivering 2 letters. We received no response. But she called me. Did you know that he's a federal convicted felon? And said she never provided Hodges with legal advice. And the reason why he's been at her house so much is because he's renovating a bathroom. Judge Dick added Hodges is a friend, their children date, and she knew about his pending federal case.
Dwayne Hodges needs help. He needs to make money. He needs to earn a living, and she's helping him do that.
It's a case that concerns a number of people.
Prohibits judges from engaging in conduct.
Loyola law professor Dane Cialino says federal judges are held to the highest standards.
No matter of whether she's violated the code.
Their codes of conduct are called canons and are very clear.
The code of conduct does have a general prohibition against judges engaging in conduct that has even the appearance of impropriety.
Others across the state believe Dick's relationship to the felon raises legal questions. With just 4 months on the bench, Rafael Goyeneche believes Judge Dick may have violated the judicial code of conduct if she gave Hodges legal advice.
I certainly think that an additional investigation needs to be conducted, and the judge, I think, owes the public an explanation, a full explanation of all of the circumstances involving her relationship with this individual.
Hodges' attorney tells the investigative unit in advance of his sentencing he's been doing community service and trying to hold down a job in hopes of pulling his life back together. Chris Nakamoto, WBRZ Balance News.
Sentencing for Dwayne Hodges is scheduled a week from today. Happening right now, more police out looking for people not following the rules of the road. Police in Baton Rouge and Denham Springs got a grant to pay overtime costs for cops.
It's an effort to get people to buckle up and not drink and drive. That money pays for additional enforcement hours to investigate drunk driving and seatbelt violations. This comes as the number of DWI-related deaths in Louisiana is trending down. A natural gas leak is capped and a shelter-in-place is over in part of Baton Rouge now. This happened on Behringer-Foreman Road between Jefferson and Airline Highway for about 2 hours. Deputies blocked off the road. The fire department says there was no danger to the public, but asked people to shelter in place as a precaution. No word on what caused that leak. A move to create a breakaway city was called racially and economically motivated.
Opponents of the city of St. George say it would deplete Baton Rouge's revenue and cause a financial bind. The proposed city comes after an effort failed twice in the legislature to create a new school system. Now the group wants to incorporate the southeastern part of East Baton Rouge to form a city and get its own school system. News 2's Ryan Nakan is live in the newsroom with how both sides are digging in for a long fight.
The One Community, One School District group says if St. George breaks away, it will reduce diversity in East Baton Rouge. And the group also claims that people pushing for St. George are lying to people to persuade them to join their effort.
Chopping off a healthy limb and leaving behind a sicker body.
Some say the addition of the city of St. George will only subtract from East Baton Rouge.
What they're doing is they are carving out a section of town that is wealthier and wider than what they are leaving behind.
At a meeting tonight, the One Community, One School District group said race and economic class are why some people want to break away.
Because we are creating another school district that is reducing diversity in the East Baton Rouge Parish Public School System.
Belinda Davis does not live inside the limits of the proposed city, but she believes if it's created, schools in Baton Rouge would be affected the most.
While your success may be faster, what you're doing is handicapping the city of Baton Rouge after we have supported this area of town and its growth for decades.
They have a similar passion that we have as far as we want what's best for our children.
But for supporters of the proposed city like Dustin Yates, it's the other way around. He says 2/3 of the revenue in the East Baton Rouge budget comes from what would be St. George businesses and residents.
That is not a factual statement.
Davis disagrees.
The biggest retail taxpayer in East Baton Rouge Parish is the Mall of Louisiana. So those dollars are being contributed to that area by all of the residents of East Baton Rouge Parish.
But Yates still stands by his statement.
I know that the tax dollars generated here are generated in businesses in the city of St. George, just like I know that the sales tax generated in the city of Baton Rouge is generated in the city of Baton Rouge businesses.
And he says the city of St. George has nothing to do with race.
All we're doing is taking in everything that is currently unincorporated in the parish. We're not leaving anybody out.
The One Community, One School District has said they have asked repeatedly from the St. George leaders for an itemized budget of what that city would look like, and they have yet to get that. The leaders told me today they should have a complete budget within a month. Live in the newsroom, Ryan Knockan, WBRZ. Balanced News.
All right, Ryan, organizers need 18,000 signatures before getting an election to create the city of St. George. So far, they have between 3,000 and 4,000 signatures. It is supposed to help people who ride the bus.
Why the CATS app was put on hold and why a bus pass could cost you more. That's next at 10.
And why the best cure for a hangover may be just a vending machine away. Tomorrow will feel more like summer in Dave Nussbaum's 24-hour True forecast. We're going back on the calendar, Dave.
Yeah, a little backwards there, Sylvia. We're talking about foggy conditions redeveloping again overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. Right now, live look over top of downtown. That's not the case at the moment. Should develop after midnight or closer to sunrise. Temperatures currently coming in 67 degrees with some calm winds here in town. So kind of pleasant weather out there. Nothing to speak of with cloud cover yet. Still have clear skies here. But again, within the next couple of hours, we'll start to see that fog forming, and it will be dense tomorrow morning. A dense fog advisory is in effect. We'll bottom out near 65 and go up to 87 with some partly cloudy skies by tomorrow afternoon. Coming up, we'll talk about the fog. We'll talk about more humid weather and warm temperatures for the weekend, and maybe some cooler weather late next week. I'll have those details and more coming up as News 2 at 10 continues right after this.
You're watching WBRZ News 2 at 10.
You will not be able to track the Baton Rouge bus system from the palm of your hand, at least for now. CATS put the brakes on its CATS Tracks app.
It's being updated ahead of the rollout of new routes next year.
We're aware that there are some bugs in the system, and so what we wanted to do was we wanted to go back, ensure that our database is as correct as it should be, so that we're giving valid information out to the public.
And it could soon cost more to ride the bus. The system is looking at raising fares for some passes by as much as 25 cents. There'll soon be more housing options for LSU students.
It's part of an effort to transform Nicholson Drive adjacent to campus. A multifamily housing development is planned between West Chimes and Astor. The 5-story apartment complex will also feature a rooftop pool. Further south on Nicholson, more new apartments are planned across from the track stadium where married and graduate students live. The plan calls for courtyard areas mixed with commercial properties. You'll want to crank up the AC in the car.
Yeah, warm and humid. It returns in Dave Nussbaum's high-def True forecast. You're watching WBRZ News 2 at 10.
Brian Harris, Audi on Airline.
Good evening to you. I'm meteorologist Dave Nussbaum. We're looking at a pretty pleasant start to this evening here with some clear skies, but that'll be changing overnight into tomorrow morning as dense fog is going to be an issue for us once again. Weather Service has issued a dense fog advisory from 1 a.m. till 10 a.m. tomorrow for much of the WBRZ viewing area down to New Orleans too. Not quite along the coastline, but also up into Mississippi. Visibility can be down to less than a quarter mile at times. At the moment, it's 10 miles. That's considered clear, but it's down to 5 miles in New Roads, 8 miles in Macomb, and Bogalusa around, say, 5 miles. A little lower there down in Patterson at 2.5 miles. But when you go wake up tomorrow morning and you go throughout your morning commute heading to work and school, that's when the fog will be an issue with temperatures around 6 a.m. at 65 degrees. Fog will be gone, but some clouds will linger by lunchtime at 83 and partly cloudy and 87 degrees by 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Right now it's 67 degrees. Our dew point's at 64. Humidity is coming in at 90% with some of those calm winds, and eventually your temperature and dew point will come together with those calm winds, and that's when we'll start seeing some of that fog developing. Right now with those dew points around 64, that's considered humid on my dew point scale, and we're going to stay with those humid conditions not only for tonight, but really for the next couple of nights. Now temperatures around southeast Louisiana ranging from 67 in Gonzales to New Roads at 64, 68 in Hammond, a little warmer in New Orleans though, coming in at 74 degrees at this time. Not too much in the way of cloud cover. Even the low clouds and fog haven't really popped up much yet, but again, give it a few more hours. We get to say about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, we'll see a lot of that fog popping up. But really, much of the southeast is quiet thanks to an area of high pressure sitting right over the Twin States in Mississippi and Alabama. Clockwise flow around it brings in some east to southeasterly winds during the day, and that's starting to pump up that moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. Big cold front kind of working its way through parts of the Front Range and the Great Plains states there. That's going to stay off to the north of us for now, but eventually we'll feel the effects of that as we go into next week. Looking at our Futurecast model, you'll see some cloud cover building up tomorrow morning, and then again there's some of the fog continuing too. We'll have partly cloudy skies through 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Maybe a coastal Paris shower, but not really looking for much of any rain here in Baton Rouge though. Still not have enough moisture to support a lot of that, but it will be humid as we go on into Saturday morning. Some of the low clouds and fog continue across the area with a ridge of high pressure building off to the east. Those southerly winds will persist, giving some rain popping up out there. Now it shows a little rain for Saturday, but not looking for too much here quite yet. As we go on into later of next week, that's when we're expecting to see a little bit a greater chance of seeing some of those showers across our area. So your forecast, it looks like this for the night tonight. We'll have those mostly clear skies up top, but the fog developing overnight with the low dropping down to 65 degrees. For tomorrow, the morning fog gives way to partly cloudy skies. By the afternoon, it'll be a warm and humid day with a high around 87 degrees. And we'll look at your 7-day forecast. First, let's take a look at your LSU forecast. They're kind of jump past that at 85 degrees for Southern's forecast, 82 for that game. So pretty warm and humid for both of those games. And your 7-day now shows that we do have again some partly cloudy skies there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, with that rain returning Tuesday and Wednesday, and a little cool down with that front next week.
Okay, we'll take it. Thanks, Dave.
There's no way to vent your frustration over the government shutdown. How you can drunk dial members of Congress. That's next at 10. Plus,
Your attitude is one of the greatest things that will keep you alive.
The big jump a man is taking on his 90th birthday. You're watching WBRZ News 2 at 10.
$13,995.
Hollywood-style crime spree a man went on to avoid jail.
and the secret to bouncing back from a hangover. Tops your news around the world in 80 seconds. A close call for a driver in Texas. A big rig bottomed out on the tracks at a railroad crossing as a train was approaching. The driver bailed before the train plowed into the truck. In Ohio, this man was busted for running a brothel out of an office building. It was uncovered when one of the suspected prostitutes overdosed. In Georgia, a burglar made a daring escape to avoid jail time. He ran out of the courthouse and drove off in a truck, then crashed it, so he stole a police cruiser to get away. This baby made a dramatic debut in Atlanta. His parents delivered him in the back of an ambulance that his dad drove.
We pull up and they open the back doors and they said, "Oh, you have a baby."
In Maine, state workers who are paid with federal dollars will get paid despite the government shutdown. The governor declared a civil emergency.
If that's an overreach, I overreached.
Fed up with a government shutdown? Let Congress know by drunk dialing them. DrunkDialCongress.org connects users with a randomly chosen phone line for a real member of Congress. The best cure for a hangover? Sprite. Researchers say it gets rid of metabolite from alcohol, better than tea or herbal infusions.
I'm not worried a bit.
A man took a big plunge on his 90th birthday. He jumped out of a plane to celebrate and says risk-taking is the key to a long life.
Everybody who watches this, try it.
And that's your news around the world in 80 seconds.
I love him.
Pretty daring. You gonna try it?
I would like to do that, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is he my instructor? I'm not sure if I would survive that one.
You'll notice he had somebody strapped to him. He was okay.
Did he? He was all right. I guess that is the only way to fly, with someone strapped to you. Coming up next in sports. What? I don't know. Sylvia, I just say things. They come out of my mouth. They don't necessarily make sense. All right, we're talking LSU baseball. Also a little basketball on the, I guess, a little showcase of basketball. I told you it doesn't make sense. And also high school football. Outdoors report as well. We got everything. Come back next in sports.
With McKenna.
Good evening, welcome back. I'm Michael Cauble with your sports. The LSU Tiger football team preparing to face off against the Florida Gators this weekend, but just across Nicholson, the Tiger baseball team right in the middle of their fall ball practices. Plenty to build upon from last year, and today Sports 2's Brian Holland stopped by the box to gauge their progress.
So many times fall ball is about what you lost. Not so for Paul Maneri this year, as he brings back a star-studded left side of the infield and maybe the best pitcher in the nation.
And we don't have that many
holes, really. You know, we only lost 4 starting players from our lineup. We've got great competition at second base between Danny Zardone and Kramer Robertson, 2 freshmen. I think either one of them will be very capable. Connor Hale's probably got the inside track at first base. There's no doubt that Sean McMullen, Jared Foster, and Chris Shamber will be capable replacements for Rafe Rhymes in left field. So really the only question marks for me now are the catching position, where we've got 4 guys competing, and the designated hitter.
It took me a couple of days, just a couple of days to a week, just to know the guys' names and stuff. We have 20 of them, 20 new guys and 18 new pitchers. You know, it's definitely different from, you know, being with the guys from last year for 2 years, you know, and, you know, it's a big change, but, you know, we're going to get used to it, and I think the team's coming together slowly.
The Tigers wrap up fall ball the first weekend of November. Covering the Tigers, I'm Brian Holland. WBRZ Sports 2, your home for LSU sports.
All right, the season itself gets going February 14th, SEC March 14th, and how about a big SEC series, Mississippi State at the Box, April 4th. Some high school football for you tonight. Scotlandville at Walker, and this one all Hornets nearly all night. First quarter, Darian Williams finding his tight end DeAndre Williams on the slant. 14-0 Scotlandville. They would add to it and cruise to the 61-14 win over Walker. A tighter game as Live Oak visited Broadmoor. The Fighting Rusty Prices getting amped up for this one, but it would be the Eagles who would strike first in the second half. Kyle Knaps barreling into the end zone. Scoreboard a little tricky, but look at that. We make it all right for you. 16-all. Not for long, though. The Bucks get a tricky halfback pass. Somebody tell the camera guy in the defense. Taja Mack goes up for it in the end zone. 24-16 Broadmoor. They'd hold on for the 30-22 victory. Hey, be sure to join us tomorrow night for those games and more on the Friday Night Blitz. In tonight's Outdoors Report, the hunting world is just getting going, but as John Jackson tells us, it's the fishing that might be at its best right now.
Cool weather and clean water are a great combo, and the month of October is not only the most comfortable month to fish, it's one of the best. Tuna, the larger variety, start migrating into closer proximity due to the water cooling and large shrimp boats pushing bycatch overboard, feeding all day instead of just early or late in the afternoon. Cooler water activates the urge to fatten up before the water gets so cold that it makes fish lethargic. Same holds true for inshore fishing. Trout and reds are moving in, and they are packing and hungry. Everywhere you find birds feeding, you will find trout. Vintage trout are still on the outside, but one cold snap will bring them in. Large schools of fish make feeding one big contest, and given the right place and time, well, you can tell your best lies from a day like that. Topwater has been great for both species of late, and again, big school, fish hit before they think. Lemonfish are around from 12 miles in near the shore, so always be on the lookout. One cold snap, however, will push them onward to the east coast. Heavy jigs and bright colors work best. Duck season is saved thanks to Karen calling it quits early, and bow season week 2 is upon us. Still a bit hot for me, but really the best time to take a good buck is in their bachelor days before they get educated with hunter pressure. Best 3 words of advice? Get out there. John Jackson, Channel 2 Outdoors.
Get out there or get indoors tonight. They were getting down. The Bayou Madness taking center court tonight at the PMAC. The dunk contest finale about Keith Hornsby. How's that guy's dad play for the mandolin? As for the big freshman, Gerald Martin. Oh yeah, watch this one go down. Whoop, there it is. Oh. Even the coaches had their swagger on 11. Nikki Caldwell rolling in on her hog. Check that out, huh? And the bullet was back as well. The professor tonight rolling in with a flex capacitor, wearing his jersey from his playing days. Johnny Jones busting it out. Can't really pop. He doesn't really pop it quite well. Watch this. This is great. Oh yeah. Maybe not.
Back to the future, are we?
Yeah, his kids can dunk though. That's
oh wow.
We'll be right back.
The Outdoors Report is brought to you by Robin.
Friday forecast.
Lots of fog tomorrow morning as you get up and go to work and school, so be careful of that. Visibilities could be down to less than a quarter mile at times.
All right, we're forewarned. Thanks a lot, Dave. And thank you for watching WBRZ News 2, named the state's best by the Associated Press.
If you have any feedback, contact us at news@wbrz.com. Have a great night. See you back here tomorrow.
Thanks for watching WBRZ News 2 Louisiana, named the state's best newscast by the Louisiana Associated Press.
From
Hollywood, it's Jimmy Kimmel.